Nick. First of all, congratulations on these two projects. They're really amazing watch. They're very intense projects, intense stories, but very different projects. As an editor, what is your process? Do you watch dailies or do you wait till everything is shot and then take a look at all the footage at once?
I like to see all the footage at once if I can, but it's like if I'm there during production or working during production, I'll take what I get. You know what I mean? And because really it comes down to crafting, every scene is its own kind of like thing.
Yeah,
And then, once you start putting them together, then you start to see the movie come together, the story. And no, but for like Your Lucky Day, I was involved during production, so I was seeing some dailies, and then with Butcher's Crossing, I got everything at the end.
awesome. The saying goes that the story gets told three times during the writing, during the shooting, and then during the editing. How closely do you work with the director in order to be able to tell a story that's cohesive with everybody?
It's one of those things where the writing that comes into the editorial process is one of like, how many questions do you want the audience asking at any given time, and what's the you know and what's the what things that are in the script are either helping that or detracting from that. And um I you definitely, it's like it's more of a, it's still more of an edit, like even if it was like a newspaper editor, it's like what you take out is as important as what you leave in, in the editorial writing process. But really, it's like we're also crafting the mood, the experience, the mise en scène of it all. Like, you're just like, you're kind of, it's not just about the words, it's about, the environment, the sound, all the things coming together to create, how you want people to feel at any given moment.
Definitely. And for Butcher's Crossing, you had an incredible actor in Nicolas Cage that gives an amazing performance. It's out in the open. When you're looking at a script, do you have shots that you wish you got, or is it just you get the footage and you work with what the director is giving you, or how does that work for you?
First, working with Nick Cage was like a dream. I mean, obviously, any editor or filmmaker to get an opportunity to work with him is kind of like a pinnacle of a career. So it's only downhill from here for me. But but I think as far as like working with the materials, it's always easier to be like, oh, why didn't you get this shot, or why isn't this there? What, such an easy thing to say in editorial, but you're just, the whole thing is like working with the materials you get to make the best thing that you got. And then if you're lucky, you may get a chance to get that insert shot that you need to tell, tell that bit of story. Or you may get, you may be able to pick that stuff up, and that's why, that's why reshoots are a thing. But sometimes, like on smaller films, you don't have that luxury, so you really are left with, okay, this is our puzzle pieces. Like, how can we make them fit together the best that they can?
Definitely. And for Butcher's Crossing, once again, it's filmed out in the wild. It's a wide
Yeah.
open spaces. As an editor, how do you use that to create the location as another character? Because it is very much another character in this movie.
I'm glad you keyed into that. Yeah, I mean, nature. It's like there's the actors, there's nature, and then there's like time.
Yeah,
So it's like all these three different pieces working together to tell that story. Uh and no, nature had to be a part of it. I mean, that was one thing that we knew from the get-go. And they shot for 18 days, so it wasn't a long production schedule. And so there were some things that we had to find out how to get after the fact. But it's like we were all, it was just all for the sake of like being able to build out the world, that these characters are living in, right? So you feel and you see and you hear all the environment that they're kind of getting lost in, as the story unfolds.
Definitely. And for your lucky day, it's the opposite. You're inside a store, it's all very close up. What do you prefer? Do you prefer having the coverage of a large location or having more intimate coverage of smaller locations?
I'm open. Either is great, because the both of them. It's always about the characters they're in, right? No matter how small or big the environment, it's always going to be characters that bridge the gap between the audience and the film. And so no, I mean I don't have a preference at all. I would like to do a film about underwater welding that only takes place 500 feet under the water. No, and then a movie in space. Those are the, yeah.
Wow.
Anywhere is good for me.
That seems awesome. For your lucky day, there's a lot of action in the scenes, and then there's a lot of very important dialogue. What's more difficult for you to edit, the action or having to create that mood in the dialogue?
Ooh, I think for me the most daunting thing is dialogue, because it's like there's just getting that cadence right is so important, and the action is more visceral. Like, if action's not hitting, because it's just you either react to it or you don't. Dialogue's more nuanced than that. It's because it's like, you really have to, pay attention to the rhythm and the cadence of how they perform the lines, and then the overall structure of the scene. It's something that I think you can go back and forth and noodle with over and over and over again. I mean, we that was when we locked the edit for Your Lucky Day. It was after we finally went back after a period of time away from the film to really just cut it down. We just cut out this, that, little pieces of moments of air and things that we were just like, we had thought were important for a long time, and we were like, it's like, oh, we can't lose this and we can't lose that, and then it's like you get to the period where you're like, oh wait, you know what, that isn't important, and anymore. It's funny how that can happen. Time can adjust your perspective on things.
Definitely, and editing takes a long time. You keep on watching these movies over and over and over to get it just right. Uh, how was that for these films? Because they're very well paced. They're very intense. How many times did you watch them over, and did you ever get tired of seeing them?
Oh, you definitely hit a wall. But then when you hit that wall, you're doing something that's changing the film for the better, hopefully. And so you get past it real quick, because it's like, you're cutting a scene, and you've cut the film, a first pass of it. You go in, you start to work on the scene work, and you're cutting a scene, and you go back at two scenes to then rewatch, to then give it a little runway into that scene to see how it's flowing. And so then you do the same thing with the next one. You watch it, so you're doing this constant like leapfrog overlap of scene work, and then you're like, okay, let's watch the whole thing. And it's always this kind of like, all right, let's watch the whole thing. But then you watch it, and it's like it's changed, and it's different, and you're getting something new out of it. And you're like, oh, that thing that we did is now changing this thing, and it's actually working, and so it's kind of an exciting process, to do. And now watching films after the fact, like Butcher's Crossing just came out last weekend. Your Lucky Day premiered at Fantastic Fest, will be out in November 10th. Like that, now watching it's like watching it with an audience. So it's like, oh, do they get it? Like with it, I mean? It's like you're kind of like you're watching the audience to see if they're engaged in your film the same way. And I can't do that too many more times.
As an editor, what are you looking for in the audience? What cues are you waiting for to hit in a film to see if it worked with the audience? What?
I mean, it's kind of immediate. I mean, because like it either works or it. So like if you build in a something that's like a suspenseful moment, uh, or a moment of like release, where things are just like it's like all the tension dissipates. You can see the audience going on that ride, and you can feel it. It's just the energy in the room. And you can't do that without an audience. Like it's hard to once you've seen it's like comedy, like once you've seen the joke a few times, it's hard to find the joke funny. And that's where it's like, comedy editors and anytime you're working in comedy, it's like it becomes a trust thing where you have to almost trust the first time you experienced it. And you kind of go back to that mental space of like, even in a thriller, like, no, remember the first time we watched it, this made us jump. You know what I mean? This thing, and you have to remind yourself of that because once you know what's coming, you know what's coming, and it's I think just practice that and trust in the process of letting it letting some things live.
Definitely, I know. Filmmaking is such a collaborative effort. You have to work with not just a director, but a sound engineer, a music composer to bring all the mood, all the feel back to the film. How closely do you work with them? What kind of dialogue do you have with them in order to create that mood?
Yeah, so like I mean, music is like it's the emotional backbone. It's what tells everything about the audience how to feel at any given time. And I think that Leo, who did the music for Butcher's Crossing, did a fantastic job. He's amazing composer, and Matt Hutchinson, who did the music for Your Lucky Day, also. It's like both of them are working in this kind of thriller space, but then you feel the tonality of like Leo's music working in kind of a Western feel, and Matt's is definitely more progressive, and but they both again it's like it's a conversation between Dan, myself, and Matt, for Your Lucky Day, and Gabe, myself, and Leo, of like, are things hitting at the right places? You know what I mean? Because when I am working, I'm putting in a temp score before the composer is doing their score. That's kind of like a bit of a direction of like where we want certain things to hit and the kind of mood that we're going for. But then but then a good composer comes in and just like blows any of that stuff out of the water and makes a real cohesion of the film itself. I can't appreciate the music enough in both the films. Yeah.
And the pacing, once again, I thought both films had amazing pacing. They
Oh,
they
thank you.
tend to hit really good notes. You've done a lot of music videos as well. So did that help in creating this feature film? And which is harder, doing a music video or doing a feature film?
Music videos are like it's like a kind of like a little creative playground. You know what I mean? Depending on the video, like some videos are you're trying to service a story that's happening, and then other videos are just performance and creativity just thrown into it. Um, they're all challenges. I mean, I think that music videos, you want to impress not just the people you're working with, but yourself. You want it to be awesome. You want it to be cool, and you want to facilitate whatever the song is, to the best of your ability, rhythmically or off rhythmically, whatever, however you're doing it. And then obviously for movies, it's like there is a bit of a musical harmony that goes along, whether it's there's music in a scene or not. It's still a condensed little thing. But I think that the one thing about music videos, you just have a bit of more of a experimental freedom. I mean, I'm sure there's films out there that have that as well, and in some places in Butcher's Crossing, we got a little experimental and had some fun to kind of uh, elevate the film in some ways. And I think that those tools never go away. Those little tricks and things. It's just it just comes down to when you need to use them and when when you can, as long as it hopefully feels right for the project you're working in.
Definitely. Well, congrats once again, and thank you very much for your time.
Yeah, man. Yeah, thank you. Good to talk to you.